All right, welcome back to part 2. So I'm just continuing on with in the PowerPoint. So basically, when you're selecting questions for a test, what you want to do is you want to choose the question format that provides the most direct measure of the learning objective. So basically, you want to kind of look at how you taught it and how much time you spent on it. So generally, if you spent more time on it, you're higher up in the blooms or the table of specifications, and you want to emulate that in your summative assessment tool. So for example, we have a midterm exam. You might have been given a short answer question. So considerations when preparing a year or long range plan. So this was a type of question that we as a class in EDTS321 spent a bit of time on. We worked through it together on the board. We created an example. We discussed why we chose, why we placed activities where they were. So you might want to consider that to be a short answer. A long answer one could be something like this. Imagine that Piaget and Vygotsky are both grade 2 teachers in an elementary school. What do you think a math lesson might look like in each teacher's classroom? What similarities and differences would you predict? So this is getting into that analysis section, evaluation section, because first of all, you have to know some background knowledge about Piaget and Vygotsky, but then you have to actually be able to apply it and analyze it and evaluate it into what it might look like in something that you actually don't know. So you have to start to apply your knowledge there. Okay, so let's look at types of exam questions. So basically, you can have selective response items, or these are questions that require students to basically select an answer from options provided. And that's usually multiple choice, fill in the blank, or matching. And you could also have constructed response items, which basically are questions that require students to think about, construct, and write their answers. They're really kind of problem-solving questions in there. Okay, so you have basically selected response questions where the answer is there already, are true and false, matching, and multiple choice. So basically, true and false questions are you're really testing for knowledge, for fundamental facts. Do you know it or don't you? It can be used for quick review, and it's often a component of both formative and summative assessment. So when you're creating true and false questions, it basically places less demand on reading ability than do multiple choice questions. You could put a large number of them in on a test. They're pretty easy to mark, true, false, but there's no diagnostic information that can be gleaned from students' false answers. Really guessing is a huge part of true, false. We have all guessed at true, false questions. So again, you have to keep that in mind when you're creating your evaluation tool. You can also bring in matching questions. They require recognition and recall of information, and they're a way to assess understanding of linkages and associations between concepts. They're pretty effective with younger children. You can either draw lines or write in a word. The pros are you can get, again, a lot on an exam, and you can access large amounts of information pretty efficiently. The cons are, again, it's really remembering. It's usually about memorization, and there's not much complex cognitive thought going on in a matching question. Okay. Oh, does this make your heart race to see a multiple choice sheet like that? Okay, so multiple choice. There are some good things. Basically, they test factual knowledge, but also used to measure complex reasoning skills and application of understanding. However, to get to that complex reasoning skill and application, they must be carefully designed. Multiple choice questions are really hard to write, but they're easy to mark. But a good multiple choice question is very hard to design. And one of the other things you have to think about if you're trying to create multiple choice questions is they place a high demand on reading ability. There's a lot of reading that goes on in multiple choice exams. Okay, so let's have a look at what you want to avoid. So in a multiple choice, you want to avoid long, complex sentences, trivial statements, negatives and double negatives. Don't you love those? If they did not do this, then they did not whatever. It's try to avoid those double negatives. Ambiguity or clues to the answer. So again, in the stem, which is the main part of the question, Use your own words, not statements, and address single, clearly formulated problems. In the choices, what they're choosing from, statements to avoid, statements similar to the correct answer, completely implausible, all of the above, none of the above. We all hate those, don't we? And overlapping responses. If A is true, then B is not, and C could be. Try to avoid those. Again, good practice in multiple choice, that they're plausible. They have true statements that do not answer the question. They're short options and all about the same length. Correct options evenly distributed over A, B, C, and there's at least 3 alternatives in there. So be conscious of that when you are developing multiple choice tests. Okay. Constructed response questions. This is where the student actually has to construct a response. It is not given to them. So these are generally short answer, restricted essay, and essay questions. So short answer basically can be direct questions or fill in the blank without words given. It's kind of like what you did in your midterm, where I just gave you a word and you just filled in the blank. You can eliminate the recognition of correct answers because the answers are not there. So they have to recall. They have to have it in their own memory. And really you can mimic questions asked during instruction. So this is when students will have a chance to take what they were learning in class, what they were absorbing in class, and then actually put it down in an evaluation situation. Some of the cons of short answer is it requires judgment to score, and it takes longer to mark. It's easier to write, but longer to mark. But it gives starts you farther up that Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, let's go into restricted essay and essay questions. Basically, you restrict the word count, kind of like what I did on your midterm. I said 150 to 250 words or 250 to 350. So you restrict word count, points, and or time. And basically, these kind of essays demand higher order thinking. Some of the pros is it provides comprehensive insight into student understanding. Basically, you kind of get a pretty good sense if they understand it. And its restricted essay type is best when time is a factor. Okay, so if you want them to try to get through a couple of essays, restrict the words to 100 words, 150 words, or else you might get a student writing 500 words on the first one and then not getting the last one done. Okay, some of the cons are that sometimes students just can't physically write fast enough. It takes longer to mark. It's more subjective, and again, it's not a sort of a clean marking. You have to take into account what they're trying to say, what you think they're saying, all those sorts of things. And you can use a marking rubric when you have an essay like this, and you can choose to share that with the students or not. Okay, so what I want you to do now is, again, I want you to go back to the discussion board, and I want you to, actually skip over this slide. I want you to go to this one. This one. Your turn. Look at life in the Redwood Forest book. This is underneath lesson 19, and it is a picture book. So just have a read through the picture book. Then what I want you to do is I want you to design one of each of the following questions with the specifications given. So I want you to write them at the college level. I want you to write a knowledge, one true, false, one multiple choice. I want you to write a comprehension of an application, short answer. And I want you to write an analysis and synthesis restricted essay. So go to Blackboard discussion board, look up Redwood Forest thread, and write out these questions. If you have questions about how to do this, write it on there. And hopefully some of your colleagues will help you out with that, and I will also be on that discussion board. So go there, do that now, and just get a sense of what it's like to write some of these questions. Okay, we're just going to finish up after you've gone to the discussion board on issues with assessment and evaluation. So basically, these are big concepts that you're going to have to figure out as a teacher. Do you judge the process versus the standard? So do you judge how the child individually did with the process, or do you grade them against a standard? So where does individual growth fit in? So is it possible for every grade 3 student to meet a standard? Is it even necessary for every grade 3 student to meet a standard? Okay, so those are philosophical ideas that you have to figure out where you stand. The other one is journey versus the end product. Is what they're trying to learn to do on the way, is it important? Is it as important as what they actually produce? So if they try and they fail along the way, is that as important as them actually getting to the end product? Or does the end product actually even matter? And we alluded to this. When does skill actually matter? Does skill actually matter in elementary school? Does it matter in high school? Does it matter in university? Again, do you want your neurosurgeon to be actually skilled? Do you need your grade 2 student to be skilled? Does it change? Again, these are all big philosophical concepts. And again, where does effort fit in? Should it actually be part of the grade? Should it be something that we just acknowledge as teachers without it being part of the assessment and evaluation tool? Does it depend if we're working with elementary, high school, university kids? Again, these are big ideas that you are going to have to think about as teachers. All right, that was a very quick romp through assessment and evaluation. I look forward to seeing what you have on your discussion board. I think that will really help to enliven and enrich the topics that we talked about today around assessment and evaluation. Just to finish it off here, on Thursday, these are going to be some quiz questions for Thursday. What I'll do is I'll again set it up online for you. I'll let you know how you're going to answer these. And these are from your readings. So for Thursday, be ready to write a short response. This is not a huge response. Short response to Sternberg's theory, to Carroll's theory, and to Gardner's theory on intelligence and differentiating learning. This is from your readings that are in a PDF under Lesson 20, and also from Chapter 9 from your Galileo textbook. All right. I would much rather be with you face-to-face in our classroom, but thus it is not to be at this point. So stay safe, stay healthy, don't panic. We've got your back. We're doing what we can to support you in these last few weeks, and know that we definitely look forward to seeing you again face-to-face, if not this year, but next year. And take care.